All right. Hey, welcome to day one of the 5-day sexy summer body reset. I am so glad that you're here joining me. So exciting. The weather, at least here in Idaho, is starting to turn around and it's getting warm out. And so, yay, it is absolutely exciting. So, let me grab a pen in case I need one. Awesome. All right. So every morning for these 5 mornings, we're going to get together for a few minutes and learn some really great stuff that will help you reset your metabolism. I've been studying this information for the past 10 years, and as it evolves, it just gets more and more exciting because there's just so many great new changes, discoveries, new and old even, that just really are working well to help improve our health, to help us feel better, help us start reversing disease, because we have found so many things in our past now that aren't working. So it's like, if we take that information, this isn't working, let's find something that does work. And so, yes, it's great. Awesome. So today's topic is, we want to get you, especially in this first 5 days, burning body fat. Who doesn't want that? We all want to look and feel amazing. And one of the best things that I know to do is to help teach people how to get their bodies to actually start burning body fat. Because I have had so many clients say to me, well, it just feels like I look at food and I start to gain weight. Well, let's start to change that today. So let's think of it like this. Are you a sugar burner or are you a fat burner? So really there's those two type of metabolisms out there. And basically what that means is you're either burning mostly carbohydrates for sugar, for energy, or you're burning mostly fat or ketones for energy. And the way to tell that, honestly, is, how many carbohydrates are you eating a day? Unless you're on a lower carbohydrate, more ketogenic type diet, you're probably burning carbohydrates for fuel, which is fine. Our body, it's meant to do that, right? But if we can convert it to more of a fat burning metabolism, you are going to see some really neat things. And some of those neat things are, I love this. This is what it did for me. So, less brain fog, like no brain fog. Okay. So feeling bright and great and energetic in the morning. That's what I now have. I've decreased tons of inflammation, which is awesome. It can help assist your body in detoxifying itself. That's fabulous because we live in a toxic environment. We're always accumulating at least a little bit of toxins over time. So when we're burning fat for fuel, it's a cleaner burn. When we switch to a fat burning metabolism, we will also start to level out our blood sugar levels, which is awesome because then you don't get all those cravings and you don't get that, crash where you're like, you get the shakes and you're just like, I got to eat something, right? I used to have that really bad. I had hypoglycemia, or at least somewhat a version of that. And now I don't have that at all, which is awesome. And so the thing that's cool is I feel like I'm now more in control of my physiology. And that's what we really want, right? To be in control of our physiology so that we're making the decisions and choices and not being run by cravings and hunger and, symptoms like that. So, another great thing about converting to being a sugar burner is it can help improve your hormone function. And it can help improve your hormone function rather quickly, actually. So that's just a super great side benefit. Because who doesn't want better hormones, especially if you can optimize your hormones before you want to opt to doing hormone replacement therapy and stuff, because those things work and they're really good, but you might as well have your hormones working as good as they can first, because maybe then you won't need that yet or for a while. So, awesome. All right, let me just Set this over here. Okay, cool. All right, so how so how do we start changing our metabolism to becoming a fat burner versus a sugar burner? For women, it can take a little bit longer because it seems like we always respond a little bit slower to changes, but often it doesn't take a super long time. But one of the first things that we want to do, and this is huge, this was really big for me. I was a super big breakfast eater. I used to think that breakfast was like the biggest, most important meal of the day. Well, whatever you think, it can be the most important meal of the day for you or not. That's not the most important thing, honestly. What's important is what you decide to consume. So, if we're starting our morning with a great big bowl of oatmeal or a great big bowl of fruit, we're giving our body instantly a ton of carbohydrates and a ton of sugar that our body has to all of a sudden start to deal with. And so that means as you eat the oatmeal or fruit, which I'm not completely against those things, but it's kind of the time of day more than anything. But as you start to eat those, your blood sugar starts to rise. So as your blood sugar starts to rise, guess what has to happen? Our body has to produce insulin, a hormone, of course, to go and to help get that sugar and have it be taken into the cell, because we don't want high blood sugar, a lot of sugar roaming around in our blood, because that's, a dangerous thing all on its own when it's too high. So when we eat those high carbohydrate things in the morning, we get the rise in sugar, we get the rise in insulin. And this process itself is a bit of an inflammatory process. It just is. And, we just have to live with that. But when your body is doing all of that in the morning, number one, you're not going to be able to have probably as much energy as you think you could, because you think, oh, if I eat carbohydrates, it's going to give me sugar, it's going to give me energy. Well, your body has a lot of digestion to do and a lot of things to do to get that sugar dealt with, right? So in that process, that's going to rob you of some of your energy. But here's the kicker of that. A little while after you've eaten that, and your blood sugars went up, the insulin has come in, the insulin's going to lower your blood sugar. But here's the deal. The insulin takes a lot longer to come back down to a normal level. So guess what happens when that insulin is hanging out there up a little bit higher? Well, now your body's saying, well, what am I going to do with this insulin? I need to use it up, right? So then what happens? What happens is you get cravings to eat something else. So you get that mid-morning, gosh, I need to eat something else, right? So then you're not going from just one meal in the morning, you're going to your second meal in the morning, right? And so to deal with that insulin coming down, you have cravings pretty often, so you're hungry before lunch. That is a really good explanation why people can't make it from breakfast to lunch, because that insulin is hanging out there and your body's trying to deal with it as well. So I really, really, really highly suggest two different things, or maybe three, for breakfast. So if you don't want to eat breakfast, or you don't, I'm kind of good with that, because you're extending the period of fasting from overnight. And if you are already a sugar burner, or a fat burner, and you extend and don't eat breakfast until later, or maybe until lunch, you have this extra opportunity to burn fat all morning. Okay. But if you really want to eat breakfast, I would suggest that you eat an omelet, some eggs, and some veggies, something that has some good protein, some really good fat, little tiny bit of carbohydrates, like, green vegetables, spinach, let's see, what else? Onions, peppers, things like that, mushrooms in your omelet or with your eggs, really low carbohydrate, high fiber, and it's going to keep you on track for your blood sugar a lot better. Or you could do a smoothie. Now, if you're going to do a smoothie, you probably want to forego very much banana in your smoothie, because bananas are also very high in sugar. So I would do coconut milk And I could actually, I'll make a note to put out a couple of good smoothie recipes that are low carbohydrate. Sometimes it's kind of fun to have a new smoothie recipe in the mornings anyway. But do, some protein powder in there if you'd like that, some good fat coconut oil or coconut cream, coconut milk. Add a few berries, just a few berries like blueberries, raspberries, high in fiber, not very much sugar, and will give you some good antioxidant value. I always like to add greens to my smoothie too, because it's just an easy way to get extra veggies. So you could put some kale in there or spinach, but keep your smoothie as low carbohydrate as you can. And the thing that's nice about a smoothie is you can take it with you and, drink it over a little bit of time too. But starting your morning with some protein and fat essentially will start training your body to slowly start converting from burning sugar in the morning to burning fat for your fuel source. And just, you've got the protein just for building blocks of your body. It will make a huge difference. At first you might, feel a little bit hungry, but if you increase the fat a little bit in the smoothie, that's going to help offset that. You're going to get the satiety factor, but your energy is going to go through the roof if you don't have a lot of carbohydrates, like that big bowl of oatmeal, trying to digest all that. You just get brain fuzz and brain fog from that. Believe me, you do. I promise. And if you don't, well, gosh, you're one of the lucky ones, because most of us do. And there's not enough fiber to offset 40, 50, 60 grams of carbohydrates in that bowl of oatmeal. So that can be really, really big. Another great way to start becoming a fat burner is to not eat 6 times a day or 5 times a day or even 4 times a day. It's really best to eat, if you're going to eat, I'd say 2 to 3 times a day. Honestly, I eat about 2 times a day. But we don't need to eat more often than that. We just don't. And remember, every time we eat, we have the blood sugar response and the insulin response. And so our body really goes into a fat storage mode because it's got to deal with all of the nutrients that we're putting in there, right? And so there's actually a lot of bodybuilders now that are finding that they used to eat the 6 times a day, and they're finding that they're better able to build and keep their physique by eating less times a day, which is, I know sometimes we think, our dietitian or doctor told us, eat, 5 or 6 small meals a day so I don't get low blood sugar. Well, when you do that, you're just kind of making it worse, honestly, because you get blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up, blood sugar comes down, insulin's still hanging out, and then we feel like in a couple hours we need to eat again. And if we're eating 6 times a day, inflammatory process, you're causing your body a lot more work, and that work might be saved for repair and to rest and to do the other vital things that need to be done, detoxification even, and just, keeping you feeling vibrant and vital during the day versus trying to digest 6 times a day. So I would suggest eating maximum 3 times a day. If you eat a good breakfast, a good lunch, and a good dinner, you add some really good fats to that, you're going to increase your fat in your diet a little bit and also at the same time decrease your carbohydrates. And then guess what? You are going to start burning more fat for fuel, less carbohydrates for fuel. You're going to have more energy, but you're going to stay fuller longer, because we all know that when we eat fat, we really get that satiety factor, which is awesome. All right, so I would say slowly over the next week or so, just think about that. Think about increasing the good fats in your diet and also decreasing carbohydrates. So when we think about increasing our fat intake, also, something that we would like to do is to think about, are we eating good fats or bad fats? And of course, we know trans fats are super bad. And most things don't have trans fats anymore. I think they've pretty much outlawed them. But when you see a product that has hydrogenated oils, well, that's kind of a trans fat anyway. So I would say eating a good coconut oil, adding that to your diet, cooking with it helps, is better for your food. Olive oil, a really good olive oil, and make sure you buy olive oil that's in a dark bottle. That is just, it protects the olive oil. It's fragile anyway, and you want to make sure that your oil is not rancid. But olive oil is a great oil for us. Another great oil is one that I actually like. For breakfast, I like to do the bulletproof coffee thing, the butter and the coconut oil and stevia in my coffee, because for me, for the first 2 or 3 hours that I'm awake, I love that. That's my thing. And Bulletproof has a brain octane oil, which is a certain type of MCT coconut oil that is really good for helping you produce ketones. And we'll talk about ketones more in a minute. But so that's a good source of coconut oil is brain octane or MCT oil. And then other good oils, the nut oils are good. Avocado oil is really good. What we want to stay away from, let me take a little drink real quick. For sure, oils to stay away from: corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil. Canola oil, they say it's, got the right ratios and all this. Well, canola oil is crap. It is. And number one, most of it's GMO anyway, so you get genetically modified oil. Yuck. But canola oil it's not good for us at all. So avoid canola. And there's so many products made with it. I still get it accidentally sometimes, but I really try to make a conscious effort to take it out of my diet absolutely as much as I can. So stick with coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia nut oil is kind of a good yummy one. The other oils to avoid, the vegetable oils like safflower oil and sunflower oil. Maybe just use those a tiny little bit, but don't make those the main staple of what you're eating as far as an oil goes. Okay. And then butter. Butter is awesome. So butter is a natural fat. It's good for us. And it's funny because I remember my grandma, she would eat, real butter, and she would eat eggs and bacon every day for breakfast. And my goodness, that lady lived to be 97, and she took only one little water pill. And it's interesting for me to think about that, because me being a pharmacist for the last 20 years, I have given people so many prescriptions, and I've seen cardiovascular disease increase, and diabetes skyrocket, and autoimmune disease skyrocket. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing here, because it's like, people, we don't have to do that anymore. We can now that we've seen how bad all this is, we can go back to being healthier, and that is eating real food and eating real fat. So eat real butter. Don't do margarine. I should have put that on the avoid list, right? Avoid margarine at all costs. Real butter doesn't cost that much. You can get, one of my favorite brands is Kerrygold. It's out of, like Ireland or something, and grass-fed, almost organic. It's great. Tastes amazing. It's a deep yellow in color. Okay. Well, that's probably enough about fat. But as you, over time, slowly increase your fats a little bit, start decreasing carbohydrates. So carbohydrates and especially starchy carbohydrates. So we want to start cutting down on, actually trying to even avoid chips, white potatoes, not so good for us. Try to go more for sweet potatoes, but I would eat those more in the evening if I eat a sweet potato. Go to the good green veggies. So you have your green leafy vegetables, and then, other really good lower carbohydrate vegetables are zucchini, tomatoes. Tomatoes are still a nightshade, so some people could be intolerant. Let's see, cauliflower. I'm having like a veggie. Anyway, so start eating more green vegetables and those kind of things, and start decreasing grains. So oatmeal, I've just cut that out. If you're going to do a grain, I do more like a quinoa, which is an ancient grain, or millet. But I would do those in the evening again, because the more carbohydrates you eat during the day, the less energy you're likely to have during the day, and the more cravings. So all right. And it's very important to remember, especially for women, if you want to increase your fat intake, you have to decrease your carbohydrate intake. Just kind of do this kind of a thing with it, right? Otherwise, if we eat high fat and high carbohydrate diet, we're probably going to gain weight or not lose any weight at all. Try that. And actually, it's interesting. In my research over the years of trying to figure my own body out, I tried many, many, many different kinds of diets, eating plans, food, journal, I don't know, whatever you call it. But it was a big deal when I started noticing, for me, high fat and high carb, they don't go together. So increase your fat, lower your carbohydrates, and have your protein be moderate. We don't want to go high protein either, because here's the kicker about high protein. And this is one of the reasons why the Atkins diet, I think, had so many issues. Because if you unlimit your protein, like you just go for it and think that that should be your snack always, like go for cheese or go for jerky, just adding a lot of extra protein, well, guess what? When our body has digested enough protein, then if there's excess, the excess can get converted to sugar. It's a process called gluconeogenesis. And guess what? Then you end up with a sugar issue again. So blood sugar goes up, insulin comes in, and we start to get cravings. So that's one of the reasons why if you ever tried the Atkins diet back in the day and had cravings, you're eating way too much protein. We don't really need an absolute ton of protein unless we're an athlete and we're breaking down our muscle tissue and we really need to replenish like that. But probably I would say 40 to 75 milligrams of protein, or 40 to 75 grams of protein a day for men and women. A little bit lower on the end for women, higher for men. But that's about the range. That's about what we need. So, when they said about the palm of your hand, that's a pretty decent, good serving size for meat, once or twice a day. So that is really important to know. So if you have, if you're kind of going to protein as your go-to snack, that could be a problem. Your go-to snack could be nuts. Get some fat, a little bit of carbohydrate, some fiber, which is nice, but you get higher fat and less protein can be helpful. All right, so the last part of what I want to talk about today, so let's just recap for a second. We want to start becoming more of a fat burner versus a sugar burner. Burning fat for fuel, which really equates to burning ketones for fuel, because we digest fat. Our liver will convert fat to a ketone, and then the ketones will be released into our blood and moved around our body. Our cells absorb ketones and use that in the Krebs cycle to create energy, right? So that process is much cleaner. It's like burning, high octane fuel, and it produces a lot less byproduct and waste that our cells have to get rid of. So that's one of the beautiful things about being on more of a ketogenic type diet, is burning the ketones for fuel. Another great thing is burning ketones for fuel. Our brain tissue, it loves to use ketones for fuel. And actually, our brain uses a very high percentage of the energy that our body creates every day. Like, I think it's like 20%. So you think, such a small part of our body in a sense, but it uses a very, very high amount, because it's basically running everything, right? It's doing it all. And our brain will love to start burning the ketones for fuel and clearer memory. I mean, you'll just be so much sharper if you do this. And then the side benefit is you start shedding some weight, right? All right. So as we increase our fat and start decreasing our carbohydrates, and we start producing more ketones, there is a huge movement now out there where they're selling exogenous ketones, which basically means, if I drink this drink, it's going to put me into ketosis within like 30 minutes. Well, that's fine, but here's what we found. So if you want to find the shortcut to ketosis, if you're an athlete, if you're going to be in like running a half marathon or something like that, use the exogenous ketones if you want to help increase, that ketogenic state of your body. But here's the thing. Number one, they're pretty expensive. Number two, a lot of them are made from formaldehyde. That's gross. That's toxic to us. But number three is if you use them on an ongoing basis, you're going to prevent your body from creating its own ketones. And we need our body to go into ketosis or to make ketones on its own. That's where the magic happens. If we're just putting them in from the outside, let me tell you, you're going to get results for a little while, but then you're going to stall. And most people want results of I need to lose 50 pounds or 70 pounds. Well, who wants to stop at like 10 or 15 pounds? You want to keep going, right? Well, exogenous ketones, at least right now, as far as that's like the latest that we know. Because I was at a class, one of my trainings, and a lady stood up and said, "Oh, I'm in ketosis. I'm taking these ketones." And when we test our blood for ketones, we want to be at least a 0.5. And even between a 0.5 to 2 range is good for ketosis, right? Well, she said that her range was up like 4 or 5, which is very high ketosis. But guess what? She hadn't lost any weight and she wanted to lose like 25, 30 pounds. So that was like an extra, some more extra information in favor of using exogenous ketones on a regular basis is not going to get you the results that you need. If you need it short term for like, an athletic event, or maybe to just kind of give you a little boost, maybe for a week, do it for a week to kind of help. Because one of the neat things about ketones is especially in the mornings, as you start changing your diet from fat to eating fat and protein for breakfast, see, we fast overnight, right? And then as we go into the morning, if we don't eat virtually any carbohydrates, our ketone level that we created overnight, it can stay up here. It could stay up a little bit higher. Well, the thing that's super great about not budging that ketosis range until later in the day is ketones help decrease a hormone called ghrelin. And ghrelin is the hormone that makes us hungry. And so ketones go up, ghrelin goes down. We don't get that hunger, that, craving factor, as well as, have ghrelin and insulin together. And then, no wonder we're hungry all the time, right? So, but yeah, so as you start to convert your body, you'll start creating ketones. And then overnight during your fasting, your body will run out of glycogen, run out of the sugar from your evening dinner, and then it'll start producing the ketones. And I love to ride that ketone wave as long as I can. And honestly, I don't break my fast until about 2 in the afternoon, because I like to ride that wave of having my body use its own fat for fuel. So, you might have a little bit of protein and fat in the morning, and as you do that, you're going to use that up, right? Because it's not usually, we don't eat a ton of calories for breakfast, right? And then what's great is as your body uses that fat and protein and it's utilized it, then it still needs a fuel source. Body fat. Woohoo! Yay! Let's use body fat as our fuel source. That is amazing, because then guess what? We're going to start using stored body fat. Then we start losing weight. And when we wait and only eat 2 to 3 times a day, less inflammation. So your body's going to hold on to less water. So you're going to lose water weight, which is good because, yes, it's water weight. But here's the thing. If you're carrying around a lot of extra water all the time, well, that's not good for you either, right? So you get kind of that double benefit. All right. So super excited about this day 1. So definitely, if you have any questions, type them in the chat box, because I could easily answer a couple questions here. I can put some more information out. I'll recap this video in an email to everybody so that if you want to rewatch it, you can. And I will put a few good smoothie recipes on there as well. And I also want to, I thought about this last night. I thought about, what about day 4 we all do a 1 day fast together, because fasting can be a really great way to improve our health. And so I think we'll talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. And but I think we should fast for 1 day together. And it could be a juice fast, it can be a water fast. Um, it'll be fun because, when you haven't really fasted before, it's kind of fun to do it together, because then you have, it's like you're in a group, you're kind of holding this energy together. And then if you have questions, you can email me or you can Facebook me and get your questions answered if you have any like side effects go on, or just, interesting little things. Because, fasting can cause our bodies to do a little bit of changing, and it can really wake up our metabolism too. So super excited. Can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Hope you have a lovely day today. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be amazing. Keep the positive things flowing in your life. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. Have a great one.